here in America, the racial
turmoil.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
and the police brutality. Like there were many days that I would
Mm-hmm.
just have to take a break from work because it was just so much, and I would just cry, like just cry. And I know occasionally I would like call my mom, or my mom would just happen to call me, and I would just like, I don't understand like why we're going through this. Like I don't understand why this just keeps happening. Why, like, we know so much and yet nothing has really changed. And so my
Mm-hmm.
parents are boomers, so they grew up during segregation. They experienced segregation and in the South. So of all people to probably talk to, my parents were really good to talk to because, they kind of reminded me that we're making progress. Trust me, we've made a lot of
Mm-hmm.
progress.
Welcome to
We grown.
Question mark?
I'm Moyo.
I'm Shaun.
I'm Jess.
And first things first, what's had you feeling grown?
What's had me feeling grown is being a substitute teacher at the school I volunteer at in the afternoons. Typically, I teach 1 day a week. And this week, and I teach graphic art. I mean, I do art stuff, so that's what I do. I teach graphic art 1 day a week, but this week, the culinary person wasn't there, so I had to teach a culinary class. First of all, I am not a culinary teacher, so that was a stretch, but it really worked out well. We made cake pops because cake pops are really easy to
I was
make.
just thinking about how you used to
Yes.
make those.
Yeah, and so that's what we made. Like John and I made the cake before, so because it's only 45 minutes per class. And there are two classes, so they made cake pops. The first group, it was with like sixth grade girls, and it was chaotic. Like it was there was cake everywhere. Icing was like on the doors. Like
What
I
the
was
What are
like,
y'all
world?
doing?
I have no clue. Well, it doesn't help that it's like 20 people, 20 kids in there at once. And I only had two cakes, so it definitely was not enough cake. Um, I should have portioned it out better. So by the time we got to the like 11th graders, it was much better. They but they were stealing cake from like the younger ones. So that was a trial that we went through. Like I went to go get the younger cake and I was like, "Oh, like let me go get y'all cake now." And then I opened it and I was like, "Where's the cake?" And then I like look over and all of them are just like, and I
Mm.
was like, y'all stole my cake. So now I'm trying to work with nothing. So then the next day I had the boys, and I was way more structured with that, so it went better. But the issue with the boys was they didn't really want to make cake pops. They just ate the cake.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it was like,
Like, why would
yeah,
I
so
make
they
it? It's
would
already done.
start like they were like, yeah, this is crumbled, and then they would start eating, and then it was like, oh, were we supposed to put the icing inside? And then they would like eat the icing, and then they were like, I need another cake. I was like, well, dang. So, but it was tiring
I
because I'm
bet.
usually only there 1 day a week, and I was there 3 days a week this week.
Ooh, from 1 to 3,
So,
yeah, I can imagine. I can
yes.
imagine.
So, yeah. So, and usually my group, I have like 8 people.
Mhm.
So, for me going from
Oh
eight
yeah.
people to like 20 per session is a lot,
Yeah.
and that had me feeling grown.
Mhm. They got that energy.
I did not like. I got home like, I need me a bath, bubble
Suck your
bath.
worries away.
Listen,
I ain't take
Kids
it
are
though.
stressful,
They were.
you said
especially
they
when they're
weren't.
not
They
yours.
were. They
Oh.
were. I mean, the boy. It was much easier with the boys, and they were just way more calm than the girls were, which I was a little surprised by. Because the last time I helped out with culinary, the boys were way more rowdy than the girls. But this time, I was just like, I think it was just because it was cake, and
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's already made.
they were like, this cake is it.
Mhm.
So
You think it was the order you did them? Like you just knew what you were doing when you got to the boys, or you just think the girls were
the
out
girls
of
are definitely
control?
just more rowdy.
Mm.
Like, well, so the
Rambunctious.
girls typically you can't have like sixth grade girls and then or like the middle school girls and high school girls in there at the same time because then they just fight. Um, and the boys you
What in
don't
the world?
not like physically they argue like back and
Mhm.
forth. Because some of them are siblings, so they just go back and forth.
Ah,
Mm.
yeah.
But with the boys you don't get that. Like you might get boys wrestling, like two of them might wrestle, but that's not as interruptive as them fighting
Arguing,
and
yeah.
arguing, because it's not like one-on-one arguing. It's like table against table arguing versus one boy wrestling one boy,
Yeah.
and then the boys, they get tired of wrestling, and then that's it.
Mm.
Girls don't get tired of arguing. It's like, oh,
Absolutely
it's
not.
still going. Oh, y'all still going? So y'all not gonna finish this cake pop? So yeah,
Mm.
that's what had me feeling grown.
That's crazy.
I know it's not something that's probably relatable to everybody, but that's what
I
happens.
volunteered for a while with kids, and it's not for me. It's not for me. I can't do it because I'm always at the point where I'm like, y'all don't want to listen. You know I don't have to be here, right? So I'll be like, all right, well, guess this is over. And that's when they'll be like, oh, she's not joking.
Mm-hmm.
So I always threaten that I'm gonna leave, and then y'all not gonna have nothing. That's always my go-to.
I've done that. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, you're wasting my time. Just go.
Yeah.
And they like,
Sometimes that's
but I
what it
don't
takes.
want to leave.
Yeah, that's
and I'm like,
they understand. I think at that age, if you're doing like 5th grade and up, they understand like, okay, this person's doing us a favor, and they look like they are getting to the point where they don't care no more, and they don't like people not caring about them.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because they
Oh,
may be
yes.
going through that already at home. So when somebody's like volunteering, they're more like, okay, maybe I shouldn't stress them out. But if
Yeah.
you're the type of teacher where you just let them stress you out and you never say anything, they'll just keep stressing you out.
Yeah. And then this one's a little different because the school, they like live at the school. So like they eat there, they sleep there. So then this is like their outlet. So for me, I have to like, I try not to be disciplinary with them like that. Like I let them enjoy their
Yeah.
time because I'm
Yeah.
like, this is your time to have fun. So it's like, as long as you're not like, I mean, they cuss, but like as long as you ain't cussing at me, I don't allow like F bombs. So I'm like, hey, right, all right. I mean, but there'll definitely be
Do
wrestling
they
in the
just
class.
leave you in there by yourself?
No,
Like, there's
there's
no-
a person
Okay.
as well.
That's
So
good. Yeah, kids be tiring. Listen, I used to teach dance to like 2 and 3-year-olds.
Mm-mm.
oh no,
Tap and ballet.
I
You
mean,
can imagine how tap goes, but I really did enjoy it though, because it's like they're all unique and they're all developing their own musicality. But as an adult, like now, I don't know if I could do volunteer work after work when
yeah, it gets to
that's just
be
me.
a lot. I mean, but I enjoy it. I mean, it's fun to do. I mean, it's great to see like my art class. They thrive. So I'm like, oh, it's great watching them. The culinary ones, they do really well too. So
Mhm.
like with them, the first like uh the instructor had them make guacamole. So they were just like, this is weird. Like this is some white people stuff. And then it was like, yeah,
Right.
like let's try it. And like that was the first time they had avocado and guacamole and they loved it. So
Mhm.
it's really cool to watch them like expand their palate so they
Yeah.
know like, oh, this is where you taste sweet. This is
Mhm.
like umami. This is where you taste this. And I'm like, that's crazy that y'all know this now. And it's really cool to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
Mhm.
that. Just shout out to all the teachers out there, especially teachers with kids, because
It's teacher appreciation. Well, by the time this comes up, it would have long gone. But
Yes.
next week is teacher appreciation.
awesome. We appreciate you, teachers. You make us who we are. We need you.
We really do.
We
Keep doing you.
please, yes.
Mhm.
Also, to the government, whoever's in power that may be watching this, even if you're secretly watching it, pay them more. Yes.
I agree. I second that.
Yeah, for real. Like
In motion.
stamp it immediately. We command you. Do it now. Okay, all right. I'm done.
It's a podcast, it's a video, and more.
Okay.
So, moving in today's topic, we're going to be talking about Quarantine Be Hard. So, this is chapter 9 of the book Marriage Be Hard by Melissa and Kevin Fredericks. And in chapter 9, they talked about how quarantine proceeded for them, how that kind of affected their marriage and their family dynamic, some things that were revealed. I think a lot of people kind of realized, when we were all kind of mandated to stay at home, how things changed. And not only just that, but just the rhythm that you had, how that kind of had you disconnected in a sense, or just a little bit. Like, you're not as involved with somebody when you're not in the same house as them 24/7 for the foreseeable future. So they talked about how they had busy schedules beforehand. They had their touch points and their, relationships, and how they could kind of either gloss over problems or just be like, oh, well, forget it, because, life keeps happening and it's going. So therefore, we don't even need to talk about it or bring it back up until it becomes a problem. But then when you're stuck at home, everything's a problem. Even the small problems become huge problems. So they kind of talk about that in the chapter. So with that, I would love for us to discuss, how did quarantine happen for you? Like, what about quarantine did you like, dislike? What were some lessons learned about you and your relationship, etc.? Sorry, that was a lot of questions.
I can start. Quarantine. So quarantine is what, 2020?
Yeah, starting
So
2020.
March 2020. About March 2020, I had a baby. She would have been maybe 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months.
She was new.
Yeah, because she was
Yeah, so about 6 months, and maybe a week into quarantine, I found out I was pregnant with my next baby. And so I don't know, I think I really like quarantine because I am an introvert, and I thrive on just being in my own space, but I like certain people to be in that space with me. Not all the time, but like, here, you can come into my space. We don't have to go anywhere. And my husband he's an extrovert, but in doses. So he will actually, and we saw it in quarantine where he wasn't getting enough social interaction, and he was tired of seeing us, like me and the baby, every day, all day. And I'd be like, you don't want to sit with us? And he's like, I sit with y'all every day. Like, can I go downstairs? And then like he also didn't have friends here, so it was the whole, I was already by myself. Now I really can't see my friends. Like, but you weren't seeing them anyway. I don't understand. And so it was like he was having like this, I don't want to call it a crisis, but he just felt like he was stuck. And he doesn't like feeling stuck or like feeling like he's imprisoned in something. Yeah, so I love quarantine. I liked working from home. I like being able to like look around and just see my daughter doing whatever she was doing. We had Mama Coleman with us, so she was there, which again, my husband wasn't really feeling that, but we still had needed someone to watch the kid while we were working.
Was there the whole time?
Pretty much.
She
pretty much, she was there before. Wait, was she? I think she was there before quarantine started maybe. But throughout the entire quarantine up until like January of this year, because my kids just started daycare last year. Yeah, because this year just started. So last year is when they started daycare. Yeah, it was great. The only thing I didn't like was having to go to the doctor's appointments by myself, because with our first kid, I made him go to everything. Like, you gonna come to this.
You gonna be daddy today.
Like, I don't want these people thinking I'm a single mother. You better come on.
This is why I say Moyo was like my mom. My mom verbatim said the same thing. Like, you gonna come with me to every appointment. You're not gonna have me going to these appointments looking like a single mother.
Yes.
Literally verbatim what my mom said.
I don't know. It's just a you're black. You're going into spaces with white people who are gonna look at you a certain type of way.
You.
Nah, I got a husband. Don't worry about me. Like, and also I look young. So when I walk into spaces, people are just like, okay, teen pregnancy, like, what's wrong with her? So that's how I felt the entire time going to appointments on quarantine, because people would talk to me like, oh, how old are you? Or is this your first kid? I'm like, girl, mind your business, first of all, and second of all, no. And I got a husband. Like, and
mind your business, the doctor. I'm trying to help.
Mostly the little people that do the ultrasounds, because they don't necessarily know you, and they alternate. But I would always go in there like, can I call my husband just to get it out the way. I don't need you to ask me no questions because I already know you gonna ask me. And they'll be like, "Oh, okay," because you weren't allowed to video, which again weird. Like, why can't I video my own stuff? But
Hmm.
I could call him and have him on video. I just couldn't record.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, I thought it was fun. I liked it. I don't think I had any like real negatives besides the appointments by myself.
Hmm.
By the time it was time to have my son, we had to get COVID tested, and I think I got COVID tested the day before the day before I went to labor, so the results didn't come in, and then I had to do another test like while I was in labor, and I'm like,
What
y'all
they
really about
telling
to
you?
stick
Like,
something in my nose right now? Like, I'm in pain.
are they telling you? No, you better hold that baby. Like,
They basically were like, well, we don't know if we're gonna have to separate you from the baby, so we have to do a rapid test before we can like fully in process you. So I'm sitting here having contractions. I was 4 centimeters already, and the guy is trying to stick something to my nose. Like, this is a lot. This is too much. But yeah, my husband.
That's
I
crazy.
don't even think my husband got COVID tested. So I was just like, why y'all worry about me? If I got it, he got it. Why didn't y'all just test him? He wasn't going through anything. The whole situation was just a mess because he didn't get COVID tested. He didn't have to. You could only bring in one person, so he was one that came with me. But I'm like, how y'all know he didn't have it? Y'all gonna give me the baby and he gonna be in here too. Everybody should get COVID tested.
Yeah.
But I was mad about it, and I'm still mad about it. Apparently. But yeah, it was just I think what they were planning to do, if you did have COVID, maybe you had to wear a mask and then they immediately take the baby, or I don't know. I don't know what the procedure would have been. Luckily, we were negative.
because COVID ain't stopping the baby coming.
It's
No,
not. That baby
no,
coming regardless.
no. They may have had. I don't know what they would have had to do because I don't know if you can transfer COVID like through the womb. So when it comes out, does it already have COVID if you have COVID, or never actually looked it up. But
I know one of the things was just making sure the baby had the antibodies after a certain point. So if you did have COVID and you recovered, then they were like, okay, your child will likely have the antibodies for COVID once they're born. And then once we had the vaccine, that was another thing that people were kind of like going back and forth about. But the main thing was just making sure the babies had like the antibodies to fight it off.
okay, well, yeah.
Before COVID, I mean, quarantine. Quarantine was such a change for me. Because we were going out, we were traveling every month, to a different country. We were out and about moving. So I think that January, the end of January, we went to
What
Austria,
year?
2020.
Okay.
Yeah, so the end of January, we went to Austria and we did the snow sledding trip. Yeah, we did this like snow sledding. It was like 8.5 miles down a mountain, in the daytime, and then at nighttime it was lit up, uh, poorly, but it was lit, and it was lit.
It's lit.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed. So then, February came around and things started to get a little like, oh shoot, like what's going on? But we were still trying to plan a trip. So I think we were like trying to go to Spain at the time. And I was like, I'm about to just book these tickets. I had already booked our Thailand trip that we were planning.
Bruh.
So we were like ready. And then March came around and then we were just at home. And it was tough because I am a social person, and like at first it was fine, me and John were playing games and stuff, and then I'm like, yeah, playing game. I was doing different drawings. I was drawing like I did a self portrait challenge. Maybe I did that later, but I did like comics, or I did the self portrait challenge first, I think. So it was like me and a different character like every day. So that would take time. So it's like, all right, that was like 4 to 5 hours. Now what? Like play a game with me. And then I was baking different things. John sat on the couch and watched TV for months.
That sounds
Like
like me.
he did not move, and I would get so frustrated. Like, be productive, do something. Like I was cooking, I was like, I'm gonna bake, I'm gonna learn something new. We weren't allowed. I was in Europe too, so it was. Or was it? Yeah, whatever. It was a little different. And I'll get into that soon. So it was a little bit different than what it was here in the U.S. like with exercising and stuff, like we got like 30 minutes to go outside to exercise. So you're like, well, let me go do this power walk real quick, try and make it as far as I can, 15 minutes, and see if I can make it back in 15 minutes. Um,
How are they regulating?
oh, police were out and about.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
like I would have to go to work sometimes, and I had to carry a letter with me that like I'm authorized to go to work. And
But they kind of did that here too, though.
Did
Certain,
they?
yeah, certain. Well, I know the counties that I was in, they did that because my boss had to issue a letter for us
Mhm,
to be able to come into the office in case we were pulled over or anything, and people were like, "Where are you
mhm,
going?" or something.
yep.
It wasn't as stringent, I don't think, as y'all's, but
Oh yeah, ours was it was crazy.
we did have letters.
Even like getting into the grocery stores, like you had to be in line, like
I remember
15
that.
people in at a time. The lines were
Mhm.
like ridiculously long. There were like
Mhm.
age times for people to go. Like
Mhm.
this
We had to
age
do
can
that
go at
too.
this time, and it was wild. But like I was trying to be so productive. Like I was like, all right, I'm gonna work on my resume. Let me. That routine thing really helped me because I was like, this at this time I work out. So then it's like, all right, I'm working out, and then John's like watching TV, and I'm like, do something else. Besides, like I would get so mad just seeing him sit there, and he's like, Shaun, I am happy just sitting here, and I was like, I know, but I'm not happy watching you just sit here. Like, be productive.
Like, close your eyes.
Yeah, and I just like go draw, go paint, go do something. But I did so many projects then. That is a very much me thing to do. But a big thing that I did during not a big thing. This sounds so like it's so much more than what it was. I bought The Sims for
Bruh, I had a problem with that game over
yeah, I
quarantine.
played The Sims so much. So like that
Bruh.
was my time where like I would get up. Oh, I was so mad this one day. So I would play The Sims, and John was like, I don't know. And we only had one TV. So John was like, stop playing The Sims. Like, I want to watch TV. And I was like, I'm busy. Like, I'm
I'm
playing the
busy.
game. Like, you have to go somewhere else. But, like, you can watch TV when I work out or whatever, when I'm doing this. So then, like, I would play The Sims, and John would just be like, this game is so stupid. Like, I just don't understand what's the point. Like, it's so dumb. And I was like, whatever. And then I remember one day, I woke up. John wasn't there. Usually I wake up when I play The Sims. I woke up and I go downstairs and John is playing The Sims. And I was like, what time did you wake up? And he's like, oh, like 30 minutes ago. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, well, what time? And he's like, oh, like 6. I was like, it's 11. And he's like,
That's how
no,
the game be.
no, it's not. And I'm like, it's 11 o'clock. So then I was like, that's fine. I'll do whatever. So then I like leave. I come back, and I was like, John, it's 5 o'clock. Like, and he's still in the game. He's like, I don't understand why my house isn't looking the way it's supposed to look. And I'm like, get up. But I was mad because I was like, this is my game, and then I didn't get to play because John took over, and I was like, I can't have nothing. But they started to ease up, so we started to go out and about. Um, but the biggest thing I would say for our relationship, it was just like learning to like one, I had to like learn to accept John just sitting there watching TV and that made him happy and that being productive wasn't necessarily everybody's thing to do.
Mhm.
Because he was fine just doing that. But for me, I needed to be able to do stuff. And he was fully understanding of that. But outside of my relationship, I got to talk to y'all like every day. And that was great because I kind of started up like those like daily calls because I wasn't talking to y'all as much because I was
Before.
always gone. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I
Y'all
was
was out and
either,
about.
yeah, like out and about in England, traveling the world,
Mhm.
doing something. So it was like, and then, there's a time difference. So whenever I'd be like, all right, like this is the time to call, y'all be at work or whatever. And then it's like, y'all would call, and I'm like, it's 10 o'clock. I'm going to bed, like, or
Mhm.
whatever. So that was something. But um, also, quarantine wise, like, it was just crazy. Like when like we went back to the States and then like the amount of testing we had to do, like we had to test before we got on our plane, which was okay, but the tests were so expensive. It was like $100 per person.
Mm-mm.
So we had to test before we got on the plane. We had to test when we got to the US. We had to test before we got on the plane. We had to test day 0, like right when we got back to England. We weren't allowed to leave the house for 14 days. You had to test again on day 10. And all of these tests, we had to pay $100 per each test.
Good night.
But they were like, when we got there, they would, like, you could not leave. And they would make sure you were, like, at home. So there would be times where you would, like, all right, like, you would get a phone call. And it's like, oh, who's calling? Like, hey, like, we're just making sure you're at home. And you're like, yeah, I'm at home. They would knock on your door and be like, oh, okay, we just had to make sure you were actually here. And I was like, oh, okay. The
Wow.
only thing you were allowed to do was walk to the mailbox to mail your
Test.
PCR test. And they would be like, because people would try and go to, like, the furthest mailbox. Like, this is the
need
one, they're
some
like, this is
action.
your closest mailbox. Like, that junk will already have it on there. I'm like,
Wow.
suck. So, yeah.
That is so strict.
Wow. Oh boy. Quarantine for me. It's mixed. I enjoyed having so much time to myself. Because literally that February, my roommate at the time, and we had been living together for maybe like 4-ish years, 3 or 4 years. I want to say 4 years though. So she had just moved out, and like maybe 2 or 3 weeks after she moved out, they were like, "We're shutting everything down." Um, I had started my job, maybe 2018 or so, and I remember asking for work from home, and my boss was like, "We don't do that here." Or at least in his office. Yet there was still somebody in there that used to work. Anyway, yeah. So I was like, "Oh well, with this quarantine thing coming, we probably need to prepare." Ignored it up until literally the week before, and even the week before, he was like, "We're only going to shut down if it's mandated." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not getting sick, so we gonna figure this out." Got everything together. We're locked down. I am an introvert by nature, so I enjoyed having so much me time, especially because in 2019, I was literally always out of my house. Like, I was just all over the place, going out, hanging out with friends, partying, if you will, church, like,
Partying in church.
yes.
Hand
And
in
it
hand.
was a very real thing for me. And I loved it. I loved it. I loved my life for me.
Beyonce church girl.
Yes, I really was that church girl. She sang that song just for me. But yeah, it was fun. Like, one of my things used to be salsa dancing. Like, that was probably like my routine. Every Friday night we would go salsa dancing. Saturday mornings would be go out, go running with my run group. We might do brunch after that. Then we might all go somewhere, that evening, that night. And then Sunday was church, and then brunch after church, and then maybe something else that Sunday. And then during the week, oh, we might have a group meeting or like an event to go to that. Yeah, so it was just like I was so used to always go, 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 go so much that when I was just forced to sit in the house, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I had a stint with The Sims. I downloaded it on my phone, which was the worst decision I have probably ever made.
At least that thing will die. PS4 ain't died.
Because I live by my phone, like I have to have my phone for my medication. My phone was always on, so I always had access to this game. I think I might have put a timer on it. I think I might have, but I was spending real life money in that game.
Not real
Oh,
money.
I bought the expansion.
Yes,
packs.
exactly.
Like,
I was buying
get the
expansion
children
packs.
one, like
Yes.
holidays.
Y'all
I was like, I need more money. I need
tripping.
more money. I
So
gotta
with
build the
us-
house I want.
Did you buy it on the phone?
Yeah.
Oh, so like there was a free download for like whatever PS Plus. So that's how we got like just
Dang.
PlayStation 4, like The Sims 4 on it, and then it's like, cool, but we need the expansion packs now. Like
Bruh.
we need to do more.
I have barred myself from ever downloading that game again. Like,
Oh, not me.
I was really, really bad. Like, and same with John. Like, it would be hours just gone. Like, I don't want to say I don't think I pulled any all-nighters on it, but I would be up late playing that game.
Me
Like,
too. That
up
game.
late. Free time on that game.
And
Um,
you know it's bad when you start dreaming, like in The
bruh.
Sims, like when you're
Bruh.
dreaming and then it's like, let me fast forward this real quick.
Yo, wild. So yeah, I had to bar myself on that thing. I think we might have started our calls a little bit before the summer. Um, so what I tried to do was create a routine for myself. After maybe like the first couple of weeks in, because I'm like, this is just gonna be life for now. So I would spend most of my weekends with my parents. I made sure like my bubble was small. Like, you have your quarantine crew where, you visit these people because either they don't leave their house or they're working from home. So my parents was definitely on the list, and then Moyo and Marcus, they were on the list. And I think anybody else. Oh, I did have a friend that would come visit me. Like, she would come drive down and come visit me and just chill at my house. And so like that was my interaction. Like, I didn't really miss people per se, because I was able to like reach
Mhm.
out to people on my phone or do a call, or I already had planned out like how I was going to get to them and when I was going to get to them. Um, what else?
That was hard.
You said what?
It was hard. Did you
Well,
do any like creative stuff?
I tried to be more intentional about like my foodie page, my foodie IG page. And then I had my life altering event happen during the pandemic, and that really just changed me, and like just I don't know, a lot of things changed after that. And so it was just different. Like, but before that, let me back up. Before that, I think there was a point I was gonna make. Friend visiting. We had a routine. We were working out.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we were working. Were we working out before you found out that you were pregnant?
Yeah.
Or okay.
Well, we
So
were working out when I was pregnant with Joyous too. And then we were I think we were, because I was trying to make sure that I was fit enough, because I
oh
thought I
yeah,
was
yeah,
gonna do,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So we had like our lunchtime workouts, which we still kind of do now. We still have our lunchtime calls. We still do our lunchtime calls every day. Just
For the
about every
most
day
part,
for the
yeah.
most part. But during quarantine, it was like every day lunchtime, we're gonna do a workout together. I have a couple like screen records of us doing workouts because it was just I really loved the community that we kind of built by doing that. It was helpful for me to kind of move my body more, because I wasn't able to like go out running. I couldn't meet up with my run group. Um, and so having just like that intentionality of, okay, I know every day at noon I'm gonna be working out. That was cool. Um, I had trips planned. That's what I was forgetting.
Yes, you did. I
I
remember.
had trips planned. I
We
was
were supposed to
gonna
meet up.
we were gonna meet up in Luxembourg, I believe.
Yes.
So I was supposed to go to Thailand, and I was supposed to go to Luxembourg, and I also was supposed to go to the Netherlands, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think that's.
Yeah, I had a lot of trips planned, and so to mourn the fact that I was not going to go on all of these trips that I was so excited to go on was hard. Especially because like I'm a person like I kind of like to travel. I think the pandemic has shown me that I don't really like to travel, at least post-pandemic. Post-pandemic.
Mm.
I am more aware of germs because literally in December I had bought a face mask to be on the plane because I had planned to be flying to Thailand, flying to Luxembourg, flying to Switzerland and all these other places. So I had like bought a mask to wear on the plane because I've always felt like planes were disgusting and dirty. So the pandemic hit, I was like, well, I guess I'm ahead of the curve with my face mask. And so yeah, you just kind of I think everybody, the whole world kind of realized how dirty everybody was.
Yeah.
Like people coming to work sick when that's literally how you spread germs. People
Yeah.
not washing their
Mm-hmm.
hands or not knowing how to properly wash their hands. Um, businesses not sanitizing commonly touched surfaces. Stuff like that. Like, I'm glad that stuff came out of it. I didn't like the fear and the anxiety of everything that was going on in the world outside of, our little bubble, of like not knowing if
Mm-hmm.
somebody had COVID, not knowing if your loved ones were going to make it, not knowing, especially with here in America, the racial,
Turmoil.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
and the police brutality. Like, there were many days that I would
Mm-hmm.
just have to take a break from work because it was just so much, and I would just cry, like just cry. And I know occasionally I would like call my mom, or my mom would just happen to call me, and I would just like, I don't understand, like, why we're going through this. Like, I don't understand why this just keeps happening. Why, like, we know so much and yet nothing has really changed. And so my
Mm-hmm.
parents are boomers, so they grew up during segregation. They experienced segregation and in the South. So, of all people to probably talk to, my parents were really good to talk to because, they kind of reminded me that we're making progress. Trust me, we've made a lot of progress.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've made a lot of progress, but we still have to keep working towards progress. And that comes with legislation, that comes with having conversations with people. Um, it comes through, relationships. And because we're faith based, it comes through prayer as well. So, trying to hold on to those things in the midst of that was helpful because honestly, it just felt like I was just swimming in the abyss sometimes. Like, just seeing the news and just having to like turn off social media, especially because
Yeah.
people freely post these videos of you seeing someone's last moments, and they just be brutal moments. That was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, something that good came out. Met my husband, or we started talking because literally there was nothing else to do but but text and talk on the phone. So we would talk for hours, and I don't think I've ever really had somebody that I could like maintain a conversation with for like 8 hours. Like, there was one night we were literally on the phone for 8 hours. Um, so that was really awesome because we really got to know each other as friends. Because we both were really sure of each other at first.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool, like getting to know each other as friends, build our friendship. Then we tried our trip that year 2020. We went to the mountains, just us, um, and y'all and the baby. And that's really where we got to have our in person kind of face to face conversations. And because he was a essential worker, like, his schedule was crazy, and us meeting up in person wasn't always the safest sometimes. So we kind of tried our best to navigate that on the phone. This is a long story. Sorry, y'all.
It's fine.
But yeah, quarantine was mixed feelings for me. But out of it, I got a wedding. I got a husband. So
Mhm.
that was cool. That was great.
I'm glad you brought up the racial tension that was going across the U.S. because it trickled. That went like, I mean, it was worldwide because we were
Yes.
definitely
Yeah.
feeling it there too. There were definitely protests in England as well, that we participated in. Uh, and I remember like I was I was me and a coworker. We were doing like race talks at work because we're part of the diversity council. So
Hmm.
just trying to inform people. So we were doing like book clubs, like so you want to talk about race, and it was wild. Very informative. It was interesting to hear how other people thought.
Hmm.
Especially because how people were so vocal on social media, and just so bold, um, and just like flat out. You saw just like flat out racism during
Yes.
that time, so it was
Yes.
just mind blowing. But then you also were able to see like everybody come together and then fight for a cause that they believe in. So
Yeah.
that was something that was really nice to see during quarantine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did talk about that in the book, like feeling like
Hmm.
with everything else that was going on, then on top of that, having the whole racial issues and police brutality, like they still were like, okay, we're risking it all because we need to take a
Yes.
stand and we
Hmm.
need to make
Mhm.
sure that people know that we aren't afraid and we are like fighting for something,
Yeah.
knowing that this illness that's going around is killing people. And some people sometimes try to minimize that. They're like, oh, I mean,
Mhm.
it only kills this percent of people, but that's a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
1% is a lot. No matter how you look at it, when it
Mhm.
comes to the entire population, you're not
Hmm.
talking about 1% of just this room, like the entire population. So people risking their lives and going out there and being like, I'm going to take a stand. I'm going to make sure that
Yeah.
this is known. And even those that were doing it on social media, I know people were either being attacked for not standing up, like, oh, you're a social media personnel, but you haven't
Hmm.
said anything about this. But
Yeah.
if it was a beauty thing or something else, you'd be the first one speaking. So I think people were forcing others to take accountability for the
Hmm.
platforms that they had.
Mhm.
Um, and I think for our podcast, we don't talk about these type of things live because
Yeah.
we don't record in a fashion that would allow for that. Um, but just I think making sure that people understand that we're not oblivious to it. Like we're living life like everybody else is living life. We may not talk about it directly all the time, but
Yeah.
there's always something
Hmm.
going on and there's always a fight to be had. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I
Hmm.
mean we're everybody's trying to do what they can do,
Yeah.
and we're all we talked about in the last episode parenting, like we either already have kids or are planning to bring kids or nurture kids in this world, and understanding that they are going to have to deal with it too, like it doesn't
Yeah.
Hmm.
end at us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of the whole reason I'm even at the school. It's just to help. I mean, for me, it's to give them like a different output. I mean,
Mhm.
like it's just to help them, give them creative outputs, whether that's, dance, writing, graphics,
Mhm.
so that they can express themselves in a different way. And it just gives them also like a different person to kind of look at.
Yeah.
So it's been, yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, quarantine wise, like, creativity wise, like I was like booming. Just like whether it's food, like art,
Yeah.
like different projects, that was the time. And I think worldwide it was just huge for people to be able
Yeah.
to
People were creating
express
a lot.
themselves
Yeah.
and just like show a whole different side of them. So I loved that.
Yeah. I think it was cool seeing people's projects and the things that they were working on. I think I'm not a person that has regrets a lot. And I feel like that's probably maybe one of the few regrets that I might have is that I didn't practice some of the things I may have wanted to, or get better at skills or try new skills that I wanted to. But I think I did get better with cooking, even I just didn't post it as much as I
Yeah.
used to. That was definitely like one of the biggest changes.
Yeah. Quarantine, I think, is what started my routineness. Like, okay, this
Yeah.
time to this time I do this. This time
Yes.
to do this time I do that. And then having like the 2 under 2 for a portion of that, I
Child.
was just
Hmm.
like, all right, these people need to be asleep so that I can do other things. And just being intentional with my husband, like, okay, we have to make sure we're carving out time for each other because we're together, but we're not together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, and trying not to lose that while we're stuck in the house. Like it feels like we're stuck in the house together. We're spending a lot of time together, but you're not. Like
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
the same as when you got to miss each other and you come back and you tell each other about your
Mhm.
day. It's like I seen you all day. You ain't do nothing that I didn't see.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
how do you then like come back together and um discuss with each other and have these little fun dates? I think we did like a movie night thing because I was like, okay, we need to do something, but I'm not going to nobody movies and my husband loves movies. So I did like a movie night down in his man cave, and we had nachos, and we had the popcorn, and I bought like the
That's
candy from the dollar
cute.
store. Well, that's what people were posting, so I was like, yes, we're doing this too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really cute, and then it
Yeah,
was
we did
just
that too.
it was just fun, like trying to think of creative ways to spend time with each other,
Yeah.
without having to go out and not necessarily spending a bunch of money like we did massages, but just you give me a massage, I give you a massage. Like this is a planned thing right now.
Mhm.
Right.
I love that.
But yeah, I think we were doing a lot more like I would call it cute stuff. We might need to bring some of that back because now
Yeah.
life is back to normal ish.
Quote,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's you lose some of that when you are now back
Back to
into the
normal.
world.
Yeah.
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 That's very true.
And just being tired and like you work all day, then you come home and you
Child.
do X, Y, and Z. You eat dinner. It's like take a bath, go to sleep, do it all again
Right.
tomorrow.
Mhm.
Sign us right on up.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Well, routine wise, like I would like everybody was just wearing like whatever house clothes, but I would have like, oh well, let me change into exercise clothes. And then I would like put my exercise clothes, and then it's like, okay, back to my house clothes now. And I was like, that joint was still exercise clothes, but it was just like my house exercise clothes. But I will say, this sounds so bad. Like when you wear your shoes and then your foot gets kind of messed up. I was like, my toenails were thriving.
Not toenails.
Like I was like, dang, like the color changed and all. I was like, they were looking real nice then, and I was this
You
whole
had to
time I just
stuff 'em
thought
back in
that.
shoes.
Yeah, I was like, this whole time I just thought my feet. I mean, I got pretty feet, so if you wanna like, subscribe, comment about them, let me know. I mean, I can send you some if you send me some money too. But
Come on, feet pics,
right,
Ed.
you know,
Sponsored by Shaun's Feet.
only feet. But they were they were looking so great back then.
That
And I
might
always
be a
just
thing.
it definitely is. Like I think shoes might just be tighter. Because I remember
Yeah.
I've seen people's feet, and it's like, oh, it's weird that everybody has this like on your little toe or whatever. And
Mhm.
then when I stopped wearing shoes, and then months later, I was like, dang, that's not just how it looks.
That's like with flip-flops. That's why I stopped wearing thonged flip-flops, because you have a permanent, like, your
Yeah.
toes do this, your toes do that now. And so I stopped wearing them. So like my toes aren't like this per se, but it's at least a little smaller.
Mm.
But people who wear thong flip-flops, you have a permanent like separation.
Toes just
Yeah,
be
I don't
wide.
really do that.
Hmm.
But I've had, and I think during quarantine it might have went away because I've always had bad eczema on the bottom of my feet. At least that's what they calling it. I don't know if that's what it really is. Since I was a child, and it did clear up because I wasn't on my feet and
Mhm.
Yeah, it's
walking
just.
and doing all of that.
And what I'm talking about is like when your like pinky toe is like a darker color than
Everybody gotta take their
whatever.
socks off and see.
Right.
I'm
It's
like,
like
oh,
it's like just I mean, well, maybe it's if you have wide feet or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Whatever.
I think that was one thing that I think a lot of people probably discovered was like you noticed a lot more things about your body and yourself because you were finally slowed down enough to like
Yeah, to acknowledge it.
yeah. I know that's when I realized or maybe my body just changed, that I was developing a something with coffee. Like I was a coffee head. Like I had all the ways you could make a coffee. Like the mocha pot, the
Thank you.
you're welcome. Yeah, the French press. I think the only one I didn't have was the slow drip one. But yeah, I loved coffee. I love the process of coffee. I love the smell of coffee. I
Me
still love
too.
the smell of
The
coffee.
smell of coffee is so amazing.
I can't do it anymore.
I love it.
It's if I drink coffee, I get a migraine.
Even
So
smelling it?
no, I can
Oh.
smell it, and that's the thing. Like if I smell it, I'm gonna want it.
Mm.
So what I've been trying is just like watering it down. But even still, for some reason, coffee gives me a migraine, and like
That's unfortunate.
it didn't happen until the pandemic. So that's how I switched to tea. But that, and then all of a sudden I noticed like, oh, around the time I'm ovulating, I'm gonna get sick no matter what is happening. Like I'm just gonna be more inclined to feel nauseous about certain smells and foods and things like that. And I'm like, what the heck is going on with my body? And it's like, it's not necessarily your body. It's just you're finally slowed down enough to
Finally paying attention.
realize. Yeah. So what I would think is just, oh, maybe I ate something bad. Is like, oh no, your period's about to come, girl. Like you ovulating. But yeah, I think I learned a lot more about how my body has changed, how my body works with different foods, especially. Got to try different vegan recipes and things like that. Some of our like core go-to meals were meals that I started making during the
Mm.
pandemic. Like when he would come down, I would make certain meals, and like for him, he's like, "That's what I want," like, or "This is what I want." And to this day, like those are the meals we go to because I kind of honed and perfected them
Mhm.
over quarantine.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. So
We're an hour in.
okay.
An hour?
Yes.
Well, we also started a little after.
Not that
No.
not that much.
10 minutes?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay. So, how did the pandemic affect your marriage?
Have we talked about that?
I thought so.
Kind of.
I mean, you got a marriage.
Yeah, I got a marriage out of it, so that was great. Ooh, I like this question. So, if you were to go back into quarantine, what would you do differently before, during, and after?
Before, I mean, are they saying that I would know we're about to go into quarantine?
I feel like that's what they're probably alluding to. Like,
If I knew, I don't think I would do anything different necessarily. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what I would do different. I don't know what I would do different. I think I did quarantine great, and I loved it. Like,
Honestly, I
don't
feel
know.
like I did too.
Yeah.
Like, I think it
There's
was
nothing that I really. I mean, like what Jess said about doing more activities, but the only way I would have been able to do that is to not have both of my kids.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't think I would want to change that. I think
Yeah,
I
don't.
like having them how I had them because it gave me the opportunity to spend time with them for a
Mhm.
good amount of time before they
love
had to
that.
go into daycare.
Mhm.
If I would have waited and like did more, like just have this one kid and be able to do the sewing that I wanted to do and learn how to do whatever, then I wouldn't have my son. And
Mhm.
I like him. And I definitely wouldn't want to have him now. Like thinking about having to put my kid in daycare at 3 months because that's just what I would have had to do because I wouldn't have been able to not work.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have. I don't think I would have liked that.
Yeah.
Even when I put him in daycare, I still kind of was like, I wish I could give him a few more months because his sister got all this time.
Yeah.
But he's fine.
Yeah. I think that helped some jobs kind of change their culture because again, my
Mhm.
office was we don't telework at all. And now they're still more so flexible with working from home, and depending on which department you in, you might be able to work 100% from home. So I think it definitely forced a lot of culture change for places, because we had to. And now that we're moving back to some quote unquote normalcy, the hope is that more are okay with adopting that flexibility for sure. How about you? Anything you would change before, during, or after?
I feel like we did a pretty good job at pacing ourselves during quarantine. Like we took time to be apart, but then we also took time to be together. We worked out. I think we worked out twice a day during quarantine because it was like, well, we need something to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we would try and do that, and we kind of kept to that routine. So I would say we were good with that. Creativity wise, like I said, I feel like it was pretty booming. But like, what would I change? I don't know. It probably would have been nice to not been in across the world
Yeah.
from friends and family.
Yeah.
But I mean that it is what it is. Like I feel like it would have been kind of similar in the States anyway. I mean a little bit. I would have been able to see my mom at least.
Mm-hmm.
But I did talk to her every day, so it was something. But I don't think I would change too much. Oh, I would have had a second TV.
Fair enough.
Yes, because
Fair
then
enough.
I could have played The Sims. John would have never got hooked, and then it would have been smooth sailing.
Gotta watch the shows in peace.
Right.
I did watch a lot of shows too.
A lot
I
of
didn't realize
shows.
how many shows I watched until I was like, "Oh, I've seen that. Oh, I remember watching that. Oh, did watch that." I'm like, "Dang, girl, how much TV did you watch?"
A
But
lot.
yeah,
Hmm.
especially being by
Everybody.
yourself, like you just had the TV on in the background because who else is here?
Yeah,
But
we watched a lot of stuff too. Because
yeah,
now, when seasons are new seasons are coming, I'm like, oh yeah, I guess we
I
did watch that.
know, right?
There was
Yeah.
some show me and my husband were looking at. We were like, it says we watched this. Do you remember? And I was like, I feel like I remember this. And he was like, okay, okay. And then this happened, and I was like, I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
Like, I don't know.
Right.
And we just watched
Yo.
the next season anyway because we're like, I mean, if we start it, we might figure it out. But it was so long ago,
Yeah.
and we binged it, so we were like, I thought it was over.
Mhm.
That part was binging was a thing. Was
Oh
just
yeah. Now
so
I
much.
wait for all the episodes to be out or enough that I don't
Uh,
have to watch.
I don't really like binging,
Really?
surprisingly. Yeah.
I don't like
C-
surprises, so I don't
Well,
have to
I don't
wait.
like sitting for long periods, which is why I don't like
Fair.
when John wants to watch. He's like, let's watch 3 movies, and I'm like, I can't sit here and watch 3 movies. But but it's weird because I can sit there and watch.
3 episodes of a TV show.
Yeah, but typically I'll get up. Like even during the show, like I'll get up and it's like, oh, let me walk around the couch, and then
Yeah.
it's like,
Mhm.
ha 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 ha, like, and then I'll sit back down and it's like, time for me to do some push-ups, and then it's like, yeah,
Not push-ups.
Right.
Not
I don't
while
know.
I'm watching TV.
It's
You
just I have to
gotta.
do something. Like
I
I need
usually am just
a
scrolling on my phone or
Yeah, that's what I
something.
usually. I'll switch to my phone, still let the show run in the
Yeah.
background.
That's why a lot of times I miss what's happening, but I'm like, get the gist of what y'all talking about. It's fine.
That's
Mm,
about
I hate
that's
when I
about
do
it.
that because I'll be like, "Oh wait, rewind."
Yeah, I don't do that. I can't stand watching stuff with Jess because she will rewind. I'm like, we all are not paying attention. Do not rewind this. Because she'd be like, what happened? I don't know, but keep going.
We're just not gonna know together.
Yes. I cannot stand
Nah.
rewinding. Like, I can't. I just
I
not
love
never
that.
gonna know
That's what I
what
hate about
happened.
regular TV. I can't rewind.
Get out.
Give me that rewind. And sometimes I'll be like, rewind and put the captions on because I don't even understand what they just said.
Mm-mm. I can't stand
Yeah.
rewinding.
I think the one thing I might change, like I said, more activities probably. Do better with sewing.
Oh, I did so.
Yeah.
I made all those masks. I made a
Oh,
lot of
cute.
masks.
A lot of people made masks, but
It's still sewing.
it is. It
Mhm.
is. I did get a lot of stuff cleaned and cleared out at the house. So I was really proud of myself for that because what is currently my office was just a storage room. Like
Hmm.
in the room where my husband has his stuff was just another storage room. Like I had no rhyme or reason to that room, and I turned it into a meditation room before he moved in. And then I was kind of forced to make the other room office because I needed a space to work versus just working in the living room. Um, so I was really proud of myself for like getting that stuff done. And I don't know if it's an ADHD thing, a hoarder thing. I don't know. It's very hard for me to get rid of stuff and clear stuff out. And so I put stuff in rooms where I can close the door and never have to think about it or see it. And so if I'm able to do that, then it's a good chance that it could go months, maybe years of just stuff piling up. So
That's funny.
being forced to like, okay, well, I'm home. I don't have an excuse. I don't have anywhere to go. I need to go through these things, throw them away, give them away, uh, get rid of stuff, just organize was really good for me and healthy, a little hard, a little cathartic because some of the stuff I keep is like stuff from years ago, but I have a memory attached to it. So
Mm.
another reason why I think hoarding is I won't claim I'm a hoarder, but it
John,
might be a little bit of a problem.
John tried to fix that for me. He was like, "This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a picture of it and I'm gonna throw it
Oh,
away."
absolutely not.
He's like, and then there you go. You got
Oh
it
my
forever.
god.
I was like,
I am throwaway queen. I don't
She
care
is. I don't
about
know how you do
anything.
it.
I throw it away so quick. The
don't
only
know how
thing
you
that
do
I
it.
have been trying, and I watched, there was a reel or I don't know, TikTok, something that where the guy was like, "How long am I supposed to keep this card for?" And they're like, "I mean, I don't know, keep it for a little while." And he's like, "Okay, a day, a month, a year." Like, when can I throw it away? And I was like, that's me. Cause I'm like, when can I throw this stuff away? And so I keep some cards and things like that. But I'm like, for what am I keeping these for
I have
again?
birthday cards from like when I
Thank
turned
you.
21.
Thank you. Yes.
John threw all of them
I
away.
have them, but I really want to throw them away. Like, just all the letters you wrote me, I'm like, what am I keeping these for?
Take a
Like,
picture.
I want to just throw them away. But I'm like, you probably will be like, what happened to those letters I sent you when we 50 years old? And I'm like, oh shoot, I threw them away.
Take a picture.
I
Yeah,
might
you
do
can
that.
just
Maybe I'll
scan
do
them.
that. Yeah.
Scan them. Yeah. I
Maybe
would
I'll
be
do that.
okay
That's
with
a good
that.
idea. Because
That
I'll
is a
be
good-
like,
Shout out,
I
John.
hate clutter. I want to throw
I
everything
don't. That's
away.
the thing. I don't like clutter, and I don't like it at other people's spaces and in other people's houses. And I'm always down to help other people clear their clutter. But here, don't come in, don't touch it, don't let me do it. I'll get to it.
Even my kids' stuff, I'd be like, I had threw so many bags of toys away. They'd be like, "Where's this? It's gone. You ain't put it away. It's in the trash."
Not in the trash.
I will keep. I keep the
Yo.
big things that I'm like, okay, y'all can play with this. But once you start having it all over the place, that's why they have a playroom. Like, I try not to look in there because I'll throw everything away. I just be like,
Wow.
don't look. And then if I tell them to
Mm-mm.
clean up now, they'll just dump everything in one box, which is okay. At least I can see the floor. But I'm like, it's not really, y'all not really cleaning up. Like, I have all this organization stuff for y'all to put stuff where it's supposed to go. They just like, she don't see it. She not gonna worry about it. Let's throw it in this box.
Mhm.
You do
It
what you gotta
works
do.
because
Yeah.
I wanted to throw stuff away yesterday, but I
Yeah.
didn't.
It's hard, man. It is hard to throw stuff away to get rid
I
of
do
stuff.
it. Shoot.
That's the thing. People always like, "Oh, I'll help you." I'm like, I don't want help. I don't want help.
I didn't
Because
say I'll help you. I do it for you. I don't need you to watch me. I'm gonna just be like, this looks useless. Throws in the trash.
Useless. Look,
Has she ever touched this? Probably not. Throws away.
she ain't never worn
the
this.
anxiety. Oh man, yeah.
My dad, he'll take a bunch of stuff that is junkish. I mean, it's useful to somebody, like books and things, but when am I going to touch this book again? Never.
Yeah.
So
Right.
let's get rid of it. And he'll either ship it to Nigeria and be like,
Mhm.
okay, they can figure out what to do with it, or he'll just donate it,
Yeah.
which is good too. Like, you can
Mhm.
always donate, and
Yeah,
that
we're
way you feel like
donators.
it's not a waste. But
Yeah. That's what
if
I
it's not
do.
up to par, I'm going to throw it away.
Yeah. There's one organization that I do donate stuff to every year, and so I'm trying to make it more of a more than once a year thing, because usually it's just like, okay, by November, December, I have a stack of boxes or whatever to send out to them.
Oh no.
But I think throughout the year I can be like, hey, come pick this up, come pick this up. And I think
Mhm.
also having the business that I do like has helped me a little bit too. It's also not helped me because it also means I buy more stuff, but it's helped me in the fact that I'm like, okay, this can go to a second home. It's good enough. I could sell it. Or I'll just be like, okay, this is good enough. I don't want to sell it. I'd rather gift it to somebody or give it away. So
Yeah.
it's helped me kind of get comfortable with releasing things in a interesting way. Because I'm not just giving it away for nothing. Like, I'm giving it away and I'm getting money for it, or I'm giving it to somebody and I know it's going to get used properly or again or make somebody else happy. So I think that's helpful for me processing like how this is letting go of things. But like, I have movie tickets, I keep
What?
cards. Yes. Yeah. I
He was
keep
like, I was relating to you, but that's
To the-
a little
yeah.
crazy.
I keep movie tickets, I keep cards, I keep manuals to stuff that I buy. I have a
Oh,
folder.
my husband used to keep those. I threw all them away. I'm like, Google it.
No,
Yeah.
You're
they
not even
don't.
gonna read this manual. You're gonna look it up online.
You're right though.
Yes.
You're absolutely right because
Throw
I
it
do.
away. First of all, you're gonna find a YouTube video and find that you literally can put the daggone model number in a YouTube video and it'll tell you exactly how to do it. And that's what you're gonna really use. So throw it away.
Facts.
This is a message to my husband too. Stop keeping stuff. Cause I'm gonna throw it away anyway.
I really have a stack of papers in my office that I go through probably every time I go through my papers, and I just like, okay, I'm gonna come back to this.
If I could throw away like my marriage certificates and stuff, I would. Because it's junk. Like it's just paper. So now I have all this stuff
I
kept
use that thing so
somewhere.
much.
That's the only thing you have to, but I can't just get a digital one and send it to them because
That's
they want
true.
the original.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we need an original
even know
copy
where
for
that
what? It came from online. They printed it.
Right.
Do I even know where ours is? I'm pretty sure it's in our. Yeah, I think I know where it is.
Passports, like all that stuff is. Put it on my phone. They supposed to be
That's
doing the
true.
ID cards soon, like digital.
That would be
Driver's
nice.
iPhone has
license.
it already. iPhone has it for
Okay.
Does can everyone use that though? Like
every
if
state.
if you get pulled over, will they take your iPhone ID?
I feel like they would have to, because it's if the law has already been passed and they're now able to do it. I think they still have to accept that it's on your phone. But there's also that part that came out of the 2020 part of how safe is it to hand your phone over to an officer because
Yeah.
of all these other things that are at play, especially if there's foul play suspected.
I send you a copy, like
Yeah.
like a Snapchat copy.
Or they could like maybe scan it or something
True.
from the window. Don't grab it. Just
Yeah, that was the
Right,
other
yeah.
thing. People were like, I'm keeping my mask on. I'll show you my stuff through the window. I miss people being more careful about their germs. I think I miss that about quarantine.
there's still some people like if I go to certain stores, I still will wear a mask.
Yeah.
I've been trying not to be so paranoid, but I feel like every time I am not paranoid, then I feel like my throat might be itchy today. Like, I still end up being paranoid anyway.
Yeah. As an immunocompromised person, I think it just made things more scary for me. Because I feel like in my 20s, I just lived my life as far as like, if I die, I die. And then once I made it to 30, I'm like, I guess I still got life to live. Well, let me protect it. And so I don't know. I think realizing like how crazy COVID could have affected my system in particular, and then I'm already at a disadvantage being immunocompromised. I was just like, I'm gonna do whatever I can to like keep myself safe. One thing I still do. Oh, I'm sorry. Are we still going?
No, go ahead. I was just making sure everything was still working.
Yeah. One thing I still do is I use my own cart. Like I have my little rolling cart. So whenever I go to stores, I prefer to use that one. Like I loved that during COVID. I was like, oh, don't worry, don't even Lysol y'all little cart down. I got my own.
Get out. That's cute
yeah.
though.
Mhm.
Oh, I have a little cart thing, the one that Marcus has.
Mhm.
I got one for Christmas, and
Oh,
I used
yay.
it the other day.
Like a wagon.
Yeah, I felt so grown. I was like, look at me with my little wagon.
And you gotta stress my back.
Right.
I got 2 little wagons now, but they like
For your kids.
for the kid. Well, I got one and it was missing a part, and Target was like, keep it. I was like,
Oh,
I'm like, that's your $200.
what was it missing?
We bought the part it was missing. Now I have 2.
I was about to say, I fix it.
No, we definitely bought the part it was missing. They were
Yeah.
just like, yeah, keep it. Because I think
Wow.
I don't know if it was that during COVID. I don't remember why they didn't want it back. But I'm like, y'all just get the little part. Y'all gonna give up $200 for this $1 part? I mean,
Yeah.
I'd take it.
They ain't worried about it.
They weren't. That
They
was
really weren't.
They counted as a loss, as a write off. So
Yeah. That's the good thing about ordering online. Whenever you order online from stores, they're more inclined to be like, keep it.
yeah.
Versus take it back to where you got it.
There's some stuff I bought and then I tried it on because my thing is like if I don't like it, I'm not gonna sell it. So I was like, I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the quality of it. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna return it. And they were like, here's your money, keep it. And I was like, so I get to sell this for
That's
free?
the problem with Temu.
Girl.
They let you keep everything. I'd be like, these shoes was too small. Keep it. I mean, I need to give you those.
Come
you might as well
on!
sell them.
We can.
They kid shoes.
It don't
for the
matter.
kids.
There's
Yeah.
a market for children on there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like all the stuff I bought for Hezzy on there, some of it wasn't fitting, and they were just and the. Let me not give my good tips on the podcast. People be like, she playing the system. I save it for later.
Yeah,
Fair
please
enough.
do, 'cause I want it.
After the camera. Right. Tell us more. Yeah. But I think we've covered quite a bit in this episode. A little random, a little fun, a little all over the place, but still
That's
a great
how
episode.
quarantine was, though.
But
It really was.
literally all over the place. All over the place.
Yeah.
I think people's lives changed. The world changed. We
Yeah, it
changed.
did.
Most of it for the better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And-
think so.
Yeah. Well, thank y'all for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Follow us on Instagram
And the rest of the places too.
and everywhere else we are.
Yep.
Love y'all.
See y'all.
Bye.